everyone, and welcome to the Headline Books Christmas Extravaganza. We are doing this in place of basically all of our events from 2020 because they were canceled due to the pandemic. So we decided that we would try to end this year better than the rest of the year has been and do a Christmas celebration virtually and invite all of our authors to come in and participate. We're going to be doing some workshops, some interviews, and a lot of readings. So we're really glad that you've joined us today. Today, we're going to be chatting with 3 of our award-winning children's book authors that I have had the privilege to work with personally on each of their books that they're going to discuss today. So we have Sabrina, Diana, and Suzanne with us, and we're going to get started with Sabrina. If you all have any questions for any of our authors, or if it's just a general question that any of them could answer, feel free to type it into the comments section of this video. And we will follow up with a Q&A session at the end of their presentations today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first guest, Sabrina Runyan, who has been with Headline Books for a few years now, has 2 books with us. And again, I've had the privilege of working on these amazing stories. So welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm so excited to be here today. My book journey began as a doctoral student. I wrote a poem called The Little Girl Who Had Only One Book. I introduced myself to the class in that manner, and it ended up with Now Stands Before You a Doctor to Be, and I had put it away for quite a while. And then I attended a West Virginia reading conference where I met another fellow author who is on the video as well today, Pishner Walker, who has a lot of nice books too. I have them all, I think, except the last one that I will get. And she encouraged me to reach out and to publish my book. And I did. I reached out to another West Virginia person, Miss Ashley Teets Velote, and she illustrated my book. Then I submitted to Headline Books from West Virginia, another female owner of that business, and my book was accepted. And now it's award-winning across the world. It's runner-up in London, UK for Best Children's Book. It's a Mom's Gold Choice Award, among other awards. And this book was dedicated to my mother because she passed away right before my book came out. And it is all about how she encouraged me to read, and we had no books. I grew up in the rural hills of West Virginia in Mingo County, and we did live in poverty. We were poor, but that has just made me who I am today. And I really appreciate the love and support of my mom and dad growing up. I am a native West Virginian, as I said. I've been an educator since 1990. I'm married. I have 2 sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, and 3 beautiful grandchildren. So now I want to read my book, Sabrina's book. It's beautifully illustrated. I'm so pleased with the book. And everybody who reads it either connects with being from West Virginia, being poor, or who had to wait to get their own book. So I hope you enjoy this reading this morning. Okay, I'm going to share my book. Okay. And as you can see, it's Sabrina's book, and I love the illustrations on the front. It has a lot of different things, an astronaut, a dinosaur, and then me reading a book. All those things are possible. Illustrated by...
We're not seeing the book.
Oh gosh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's the joys of having to do this.
It is. I have share screen. There we go. I didn't click doubly on that one.
There you go. Now we can see it.
Awesome. Okay. And let's go to full screen. Is that better?
Yes.
All right. As you can see, as I was talking, that we have an astronaut, a dinosaur, and then me reading a book, because anything that you can read about, you can become, and I am living proof of that. And Sabrina's book, again, illustrated by Ashley Teets and published by Headline Books in West Virginia. This is in loving memory of my first teacher, my mom. And everybody says, oh, is your mom a teacher? Not in the formal sense, because my mom didn't graduate from high school, but yes, she was my teacher. She taught me the best things in life. And actually, the bar is actually on my book, and I can't, let me move it over just a second.
That's fine.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. And I love what Ashley did with the illustrations. Everything in black and white is my real life. And then you're going to see what happens when I see what the possibilities are in this world. So Sabrina lived with her mommy and daddy in a small house in the hills of West Virginia. Oh, they didn't have money for very many things like toys or books. Sabrina's parents didn't graduate from high school, but they wanted Sabrina to grow up to be smart. They wanted her to have a great life. And you can see that I'm pointing to some type of building, and I'm being a super kid there because I'm going to get to go somewhere. So mommy talked to Sabrina with grown-up words and played games with her all the time. And my mother did this. She never talked baby talk, and she was always making me think with games. One day, someone gave mommy a book for Sabrina. I love this page. It has everything in the world coming out of that book. My mother could not remember the book that someone had given her. So when Ashley took this book and made this wonderful page, it really spoke to my heart. It's one of my favorite pages in the book because, just as I said previously, if you or your child can read about something, they can become it, they can be it. And it shows all these wonderful things that awaits them in the world, and especially starting with books. Mommy read the book to Sabrina over and over again. And I love these illustrations. It shows that it could have been about a little boy and girl on a sled, or it could have just been about snow. Sabrina listened to the book so many times, she memorized it. And she was only 3 years old. I love this page. It shows the sky, the butterflies, the birds, and it shows that we can be happy when we get into a book. We can pretend we're anywhere and anything we want to be. Sabrina knew when to say the words and when to stop at the end of the sentence. And my mom said I would just practice that over and over. She even knew when to turn the pages. So I really thought that I was reading. And again, it shows black and white is my real life, and color, it's what I could be. Sabrina loved to pretend to read her book to her mommy, and I did. Mom said we read it every day, multiple times, until she barely could stand to listen to it because I loved to read that book. When family and friends came to visit Sabrina's family, she would pretend to read the book while everyone listened. And back then, no one really had cars where we lived, and everybody walked to each other's homes, and people would come in and they'd say, "Oh, Sabrina, read us your book." And I would just read that book, and I felt so smart. When Sabrina turned 4, she was ready to learn how to really read. The problem was she didn't have any more books. What could she do? And I love to turn to children when I do presentations on this page and ask, where could Sabrina maybe find some books, and let them come up with their ideas. But then something wonderful happened. The best thing ever. And then I'll say, wonder what it could be. Wonder what that could be. Sabrina got to go to school. Oh, I love that first day of school. And to read about that first day, you'll have to read my second book, Kindergarten Capers. This page speaks to my heart because once in that school, I found a room called the library. And Ashley's illustrations on this page almost made me cry when I saw it. It says, watch your step. And it shows like a curtain pulled back, and it shows the stars, and it shows a rocket ship, and it shows me holding a book. And that shows that I saw so many books in that library. And guess what? I got to become something that I wanted to become. I've been a teacher, an educator, a principal, and now director. And now I have a doctorate in front of my name. I'm Dr. Sabrina Runyan. So this shows that boys and girls out there, mommies and daddies, dream big, and then do bigger for yourself, because it's possible through learning to read. And that's my book, the end. I'm going to stop share.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. You are just so much fun. We love hearing your story, and you are such an inspiring person and an inspiring educator. And I know that you have touched so many children's lives with your story and now this story. And like I said, I have been so blessed to be a part of your journey. And again, it's just an amazing thing that you really can be from anywhere and you can accomplish anything. So we, as always, love having you on and love seeing you. So thank you so much. Again, if any of you have questions for Sabrina, please feel free to type them into the comments section under this video, and we will pass them along to her. Also, we will be having a list of links where you can purchase the books from all of our presenters throughout the week here, including the ones from today. So whenever you are finished listening, you can click the link and you can buy their book. And again, we really appreciate the support that we've been getting from our constituents with the pandemic and everything. It's not been an easy time for businesses in general. So we appreciate the support, and we appreciate your participation today, Sabrina. So now we are going to move along to Diana Pishner Walker, another amazing, wonderful, famous author from Headline Books. And she's won several awards for her work as well. So I'd love to introduce you to Diana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. We're going to start off my reading today with my first book ever, Spaghetti and Meatballs, Growing Up Italian, also illustrated by Ashley and of course published by Headline Books. This story is, as Sabrina was saying, kind of really touches my heart because I was encouraged by a friend who lives in Clarksburg, West Virginia, who's a literary genius, I call her. She said, I think you need to write a book about growing up Italian. And at the time I worked in the education at a school, and I thought I can write things for adults, but I don't know that I can come down to the level to write for children. So she said, just tell your story. So I did. And I told my story about not only just growing up Italian, but growing up in the era and the time frame, which we won't say what years those were, that I did. And I take my books into schools now and read to children. And some of the things that I tell them throughout this book, they have a hard time believing, and you'll see when we get into it. So let's go ahead and start with the first page, Spaghetti and Meatballs, Growing Up Italian. If you turn the page for me, please. And again. The dedication to this book is for my grandparents, because that's where my story started. Rosa Spatafor and Giovanni John Allessio, they were from San Giovanni and Fiore, Cosenza, Italy. And my grandmother, Mary Costa and Dominic Pishner, Pishcaneri. I know Pishner doesn't sound Italian, so that's the real name. And they were from the region of Calabria in Italy as well. So that's where my story starts. If you would turn again for me. My grandparents came from Italy, excuse me, the country that looks like a boot. And if you look down at the bottom of Italy, it actually does look like a boot. They immigrated to the United States in the early 1900s as teenagers and kept the customs and traditions of the old country within their new American family. Turn, please. When I listened to my grandparents' stories about Italy, I found that life was very different than the way most children grow up today. Food and family meals were very important. Everyone sat down together at the same time, especially on Sundays. And now we don't really get that chance to do that very often, so those are good memories for me. My parents would take my brother, sister, and me to Mass, and then to my Allessio grandparents' house for lunch. Lunch was always wonderful and included spaghetti and meatballs with freshly baked bread, and we talked all afternoon. And for those of you that haven't, are you thinking about lunch? I'm sorry, these pages are going to make you hungry. Turn, please. My Nonny, as I called her, loved to crochet. She made hundreds of doilies, and she always gave me one for my bedroom to take home. I still have hundreds of them saved. And if you'll see the top, look at the top of the blue there, that's kind of what the doilies look like. And if you'll turn again. My papu always played tricks on us to make us laugh. He had this little box with a picture of a cow on it. When the box was turned over, it made a mooing sound. Papu would turn that little box over behind me and laughed when I jumped. He also liked to put walnuts in our shoes when no one was looking, because we always took off our shoes at the door. Then he would laugh at your surprise when you couldn't put your shoes on. My papu didn't speak much English. He and Nani spoke to my mom and my dad and to each other in Italian. But one thing I can always remember him saying is "Poo-poo Pittsburgh." And my guess is it had something to do with the steel mills in Pittsburgh at the time. And he would just laugh. He always wore a little hat, and we knew when he took it off, it was going to become a pretend camera. He made us laugh and smile every time he acted like he was taking our picture. And if you'll look at that picture, when we were ready to put the book together, or when my story was done, I went looking for an illustrator and found Ashley. And I took her family pictures, old black and white family pictures. And that's what she drew the characters from throughout this book. So that really does look like my grandfather. Turn, please. My dad's parents, Nani and Papu Pishner, lived close to us. I could go there anytime, and my Nani Pishner was always baking something and often had a pot of pastini on the stove, which is like a chicken noodle soup with the tiniest noodles. I thought I could smell all the good things in that kitchen from my house. She made potato pancakes from mashed potatoes. And at Christmas, both grandmas and my aunts made ritis and pizza piattas. My grandparents did not need as much from the store as we did. They had gardens with tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, and green beans. There were grapevines in front of their houses. My cousins and I would just pick grapes right off the vine for snacks. Sometimes we went out to pick berries too. I was lucky enough not to only have grandparents, but I also had a great-grandpa. He was Grandpa Costa. He lived close to my family too. Grandpa Costa had a little garden and a farm with chickens and cows. And sometimes those cows got past the fence, and Grandpa Costa had to chase them to get back to his farm. He walked with a cane, so he used the cane to guide them. He loved bananas and read our daily newspaper, mostly just to look at the pictures. He spoke no English, but we always seemed to understand each other. And that picture is just a little picture of working in the garden. Remember those headbands? I always wore headbands. You can turn. It was nice to have my grandparents and great-grandpa living nearby. I also had an Aunt Mary, Uncle John, and cousins. They were our neighbors, and Aunt Mary and Uncle John were also my godparents. The meals and the food were not the only important things to my family. The holidays were very special. When it was Christmas time, my dad took me with him to cut down our Christmas tree. My mother and grandmothers and aunts made all of those ritis, cookies, and pizza piattas. I remember there was always a bowl of nuts to be cracked and hard striped candy in bowls at my grandparents' house. For dinner on Christmas Eve, we ate fish and more fish. We always had at least 7 different kinds of fish with our pasta. It took my mom, my nanny, and all my aunts all day to prepare the fish. They each wore their very own special apron as they cooked. And that tree that you see there, that poor tree, that was a tree I had a picture of that my dad and I did go and cut down and decorate, and it looked just about like that year. You can turn. After that huge meal, we went to midnight mass, and it was so hard to stay awake. The church was full and the people were all dressed up. Christmas morning, we were all together again for a meal and to open all the gifts. My Aunt Clara, who lived with my nanny and Papu Allessio, worked at a department store that had the most beautiful gift wrapping, making her gifts sometimes too nice to rip open. Uncle John worked at the same store and decorated the store windows. Each year at Christmas time, my mom and dad took us to see his windows. And those of you that are from the Clarksburg, West Virginia area, if you remember, what was it called? Parsons Souders, which was downtown Clarksburg, and the windows that were decorated beautifully every year for Christmas. My Uncle John did those, and that's the store that my aunt also worked in. You can turn. This little book also comes with some recipes, and you'll see the Easter bread recipe on the page there. Easter was another holiday that involved a big celebration in my family. We always had Easter bread. We went to church on Thursday, Good Friday, and of course, Easter Sunday. Turn, please. After church, Uncle John had Easter eggs ready for us to hunt. I couldn't wait for Easter dinner to be over so I could bite into the big chocolate Easter bunny. Still true, unfortunately, today. You can turn. When I go to the schools now to talk to students and we get to this page takes us a very long time. And I try to explain to them about some of the things that went on when I was young. You'll understand. In the summer, more cousins and aunts and uncles came to visit. They would stay at my grandparents' house and with us. We played outdoors until evening and then caught lightning bugs. There were no electronic games to play. And that's when the kids go, oh no, how did you survive? And we only had a few black and white TV shows to watch. Sometimes the TV reception was bad and someone had to go outside to adjust the antenna to get a better picture on the screen. I don't know if any of you remember that, but we had this huge antenna on top of our house and we kept a ladder beside our house. So whenever those two black and white channels got fuzzy, my dad climbed up that ladder, went up on that roof and adjusted that antenna for us to watch those two black and white channels. Kids just don't understand that. So we talk a long time about that. You can turn. The only bad part about everyone coming to visit was they had to leave and go home. Everyone cried when they left because we knew it would be another whole year before we saw them again. Travel wasn't so easy then. Turn, please. Birthdays were very special. My family celebrated our birthdays with cake and ice cream, of course, and we always had a whole meal too. Not only could I invite my friends to my birthday parties, but also my aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents came too, and sometimes they brought some of the food. Turn. Anytime my relatives came to my house or they left, they got a hug and a kiss. The same thing happened when we left their house. Sometimes telling everyone goodbye took longer than the visit. What wonderful memories I have of growing up in my very special Italian family. The end. I hope you enjoyed Spaghetti and Meatballs Growing Up Italian. And again, there are some recipes that are shared throughout the book that are family recipes, which being in an Italian family, were not easy to get my family to part with, but they're there.
Well, we appreciate your persistence to get those because they are fabulous. Again, we love having you in the Headline Books team, and we love hearing your story and just getting to spend time with you. Again, the pandemic has robbed us of so much in-person interaction that at least we're able to see each other, because Headline Books is really like a family. So, you know, whenever we do our shows, we have just as much fun catching up as we do selling books. So again, it's great to see you. And again, just, it's so nice to relive these stories. It's been a while.
Thank you.
So thank you, Diana. Next up, we have Suzanne Alexander, who is going to share her new book that just came out this year. And she's going to share her screen and talk a little bit about the origin story of her book. So welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. There we go. Okay. Yes, this is The Tip of the Tail, and it is also illustrated by Ashley Teets. And it is a why story. Why stories have been around for centuries. I love them ever since I was a child. I loved Rudyard Kipling's story of the elephant child and how the elephant got the long trunk, and Thornton Burgess's books about Mother West Wind stories and how Peter Rabbit got his long ears. And so I began to think about the red fox, because we have some in our yard. And that's how I got the idea of The Tip of the Tail, and why the red fox has a white tip at the end of his tail. So I'm going to read it now. Let's see here. See if I can minimize this. There, okay. The book is dedicated to my late mother, Vivian Ackerson, whose adage, reach for a star and fall short, you're still higher than if you never reached it all, has guided my life. As the sun set below the tall trees, a red fox opened one eye and then the other. As he opened his mouth in a huge yawn, Fox heard the familiar sound of grumble, rumble coming from his stomach. I'm hungry, thought Fox, but what shall I eat? Ah, a plump, juicy chicken dinner is just what I need. Fox trotted through the forest where he saw a barn's shiny silo in the moonlight. A farm, thought Fox. There must be chickens there. No chickens, just a cat. What do you want? Growled the cat. Chickens, said Fox. Got any? No chickens here, the cat answered. Just pigs, lots of pigs, and corn, lots of corn. Try the farm down the road. Fox scampered as fast as he could. Still no chickens, but another cat. What do you want? Asked the cat. Chickens, said Fox. Got any? No chickens here, said the black cat, snarling. Just sheep, lots of sheep, and wool, lots of wool. Try the farm down the road. Fox made a quick turn. There must be chickens there. Yikes, cats! What do you want? Chickens, said Fox. Got any? No chickens here, yelled both cats at once. Just horses, lots of horses, and hay, lots of hay. Try the farm down the road. Fox gave a long sigh. Still no chickens, just another cat. Do you have any chickens? Asked Fox out of breath. No chickens here, hissed the cat, who didn't like her washing to be disturbed. Just cows, lots of cows, and milk, lots of milk. Milk? The milk will just have to do for now, thought Fox. But as he lunged for the cat's bowl, so did the cat. Yip! Fox ran out of the barn and through the fields of hay, grass, and corn, back into the woods. As Fox began to clean himself off, he thought, not a plump, juicy chicken dinner, but not bad tasting. Fox licked the milk off his paws and his shoulders, but he couldn't reach the milk under his chin. And he completely forgot to lick the milk that landed on the tip of his tail. So if you look carefully at a red fox, you will still see the milk beneath his chin and on the very tip of his tail. And the book ends with some red fox facts and as well as some other recommended reading about red foxes. Okay, there we go. I'll stop sharing.
That was great, Suzanne. Thank you so much. Again, these are just 3 fabulous authors with so many wonderful stories. And we do have a few comments. We do have a comment from fellow Headline Books author Lisa McCombs. Lisa says, hello, Diana, Sabrina, and Suzanne. So it's nice to hear a hello from a familiar friend.
Yes.
Also, for anyone watching, we are doing autographed books. So whenever you order your book online, if you would like it autographed, there's a way to get that done. So be sure to do that whenever you check out. Also, Headline Books wants to thank the Next Generation Indie Book Awards for their sponsorship of the virtual Meet the Authors Christmas Extravaganza. If any of you out there are authors who are published independently and you would like to enter your book into the Next Generation Indie Book Awards, that is a wonderful opportunity. Several of the Headline Books authors have entered that contest, and having an award on your book changes everything. So if you are interested, you just go to the indiebookawards.com and you can enter your book from that platform. So we do have another question. And this can be for any of you on the call today. We'd like to, 2020 we've had our ups and downs, to say the least, this year. But we would like to focus on the positive today. So do any of you have something positive that has been a result of the pandemic this year?
I'll answer. I think we have been forced to do these kind of things, more one-on-one sessions and more actual one-on-one time with each other, which has been nice.
Mm-hmm. I would agree, for sure.
I also have spent a lot of time in nature, and even contributed a story. Nature is always open to headline books as Voices from the Pandemic. So I've spent a lot of time bird watching and animal watching and watching the flowers bloom throughout the summer.
Absolutely. This has definitely showed us that, we have more of an appreciation for our outdoor spaces, if nothing else. Yes. So another question, do either of you have any new projects in the works?
Well, my new project was just released in August. So we'll be sharing that with one of the headline session Christmas stories too.
Great. What about you, Suzanne? Anything new?
I'm always writing something down, but nothing specific right now.
Yeah. And, for any of you listening who are aspiring writers or illustrators, a really great place to start is by joining the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. We are members, and Suzanne and I have actually gone to a few conferences where we've run into each other there. And it's a great place to start because you can kind of get your feet wet with their conferences, and they've got such great materials on their website. So if you guys are interested in, trying your hand at this, it's, like I said, a really great place to start. And Suzanne, you will be on Zoom Into Books in December,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I'd love to. Not only will I be reading The Tip of the Tail again, but I will also be making a red fox finger puppet, which I should have brought in with me to show you. And talking more about The Tip of the Tail and the fact that you can look for the wonderful chickens in it that Ashley has hidden on the pages. It makes not only a great read aloud from teachers and librarians and parents to children, but also it's because of the repetition of some of the words, it also makes a great beginning reader.
Excellent. We are looking forward to that. And Sabrina, I'd like to ask you now if you have any new projects in the works that you've been able to kind of dabble with here during our time at home.
The pandemic, I love being part of that. It is a wonderful book, if anybody hasn't done that yet. And also I have books written up until I graduate college. So I'm looking to you and with my books.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sabrina. It's always nice to have a series to work on because, once you start writing one of the books, you just get instantly inspired because those characters, you've created these characters now and they have a lot to say. So that's wonderful. Series are great. And Diana, you will also be sharing more this week. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Hopping to America series that you're going to be presenting?
For the Hopping to America series, there's 3 hardback books, and also illustrated by Ashley, and she loved drawing those bunnies. But it's about a little family of rabbits that immigrate from Italy, keeping my Italian-American theme, to West Virginia. The first one is about immigration. The second one is a holiday, a Christmas story, and the last one is about a wedding. And each of these books contain, the back cover has an education page. One is a glossary, and then there's some other facts in the back of the book for children. When I go into schools again, we talk about it, but at home, they can talk about it with their parents. And a lot of the children now are asking where they came from, what country their parents and grandparents came from. So I think I've started something.
Yes, I would say you have. And, speaking of sharing stories, with the pandemic, school visits have, kind of halted, and all of the, not just you, both of you are very good participants in our school show program, but the Headline Books family in general does a great school show program. So have you all done any virtual visits?
Not with the schools, not for a while anyway, but I have done some virtual workshops with adults,
Great.
which proved to be rewarding as well. My last one, I was with the lifelong learners, and it was just a wonderful day. And I keep hearing from them now, and they keep ordering books.
That's never a bad thing. What about you, Suzanne?
I'm planning to do some, including how to write a wise story with children once, we can get out in the world again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's excellent. And it's always nice to have something to look forward to on the horizon. That's what, new work can do that for you too. So back when we were able to go places and fly on airplanes and be in a room with more than 10 people at one time, you both have attended several book conferences and expos. So Diana, I'd love to hear a little bit about your New York experience when you went to Book Expo America.
Not New York, but I did attend Boston.
Boston, that's what I meant, yes.
And in Boston, that was great. And the one in DC was great, but the Boston one was a little more special to me because I also, I don't know if you remember, got to do a book signing and a talk at a place called I Am Books. And it was the first Italian-American bookstore in the United States. And it has since closed during the pandemic. But that was just a wonderful experience for me to be with my Italian themed books in Little Italy in this first bookstore in the United States. So that was a little bit extra special for the conference as well. And Kathy and Ashley were able to go with me too, and that made it even better.
Oh, it really did. And that was actually for the American Library Association conference. And it's, a wonderful event. And it's just so exciting to be in a room surrounded by people who share, this industry. And it's a wonderfully creative experience as well. So what about you, Suzanne? Do you want to talk about some of your experiences at book shows?
Yes, I've been to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, their New York conference, their winter conference when it was extremely cold. And what was nice though, this summer, their summer spectacular that they put on was virtual. And it was wonderful, even though we weren't together, to meet such famed children's authors as Jane Yolen and her daughter Heidi Stempel. It was wonderful.
Yes. And again, it's about being able to make the best of our current situation. So again, for all of you who have been listening, we have been chatting with Diana, Suzanne, and Sabrina. If you would like to get any copies of their books, there's links here in the comments section. Also, we are going to be doing multiple presentations throughout the week. Our conference is running from today through the 21st. So be sure to check back and visit headlinebooks.com to view the full schedule of all of our authors. We have children's book authors, we have middle grade authors, we have novelists, again, workshops, readings, you name it or write it, we have it. So I would like to thank Sabrina and Suzanne and Diana again for joining us today, and thank all of you for watching. Again, if you think of questions that you have for any of these authors later on, feel free to go ahead and type them in the comments section. We will be checking back on the videos later on. So again, if you have a last minute question. Also, if any of you missed the beginning of the presentation, or if there are some presentations that you see on the schedule that don't work with your personal schedule, you can watch all of the replays here on our Facebook pages, or you can watch them beginning in December on the Zoom Into Books YouTube channel. So again, if you all would like to say any goodbyes, feel free. And again, it's just been wonderful having you all on here.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
Thank you. This has been great.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all so much. Bye, everybody.